So Rebecca turns out to be the girlfriend of one of Archie's gang, rather than an ethereal goddess with attitude. She also seems unswervingly committed to taking all the money. But more worryingly, she is convinced that she has to quieten Simon as a possible whistleblower. Simon tries to persuade her that he really is no threat. He will simply return to being a law-abiding nobody. But Rebecca's dis-ease persists. At gunpoint, she forces Simon into a run-down wooden hut. But while he clumsily tries to light a paraffin heater that they find there, he manages to set the whole structure alight. They run for their lives, then realize that the bags of money are still in the burning hut. Like seasoned firefighters, they brave the flames and save the cash. And this joint display of bravery seems to draw the two together. But Simon is fast losing the plot and no longer has any idea as to the best way to move forward. Night was closing in as we got to the barn. I had begun to think that Rebecca didn't have the will to take a life. Not even my troublesome existence. She was displaying a more positive mood than earlier. Maybe pulling the money from the fire had made her count her blessings. We found another paraffin heater in the barn, but agreed not to chance it. We both reclined on prickly bales of straw, and for a while I enjoyed a little peace. "How much was he going to give you?" she said suddenly, as if she had been thinking through a plan, but not made me privy to the last thought. "What? Who?" I responded, trying to put together the train of thought that had led to her question. "Archie. How much did he offer you?" 50,000. She had pulled a piece of straw from the stack she was lying on and twiddled it thoughtfully between her fingers. "All right then," she announced. "All right then? What?" She looked at me in a matter-of-fact way. "All right then. 50 grand. I wasn't sure I fully understood this proposition. "You mean instead of shooting me, you want to give me £50,000? Rebecca nodded. "Exactly." "Why do you want to give me money?" She dropped the piece of straw and briskly brushed her hands together. "I'm offering you the same deal as Archie. Help me get the money back to London and I'll pay you 50 grand. I lay back on my bale and shut my eyes. She really wasn't the threat I had feared. A little heat and she softened like butter. "Okay then," I said with more nonchalance than I expected. "Certainly sounds better than being shot." There was no reply. I opened my eyes and glanced at her. In the fading daylight, her face looked hard, almost angry. "Don't get cocky, mate." I sat up quickly, feeling confused. "Don't get cocky," she repeated. "Remember," she patted her coat pocket, "I'm the one with the gun." I suddenly felt very hungry and longed for simple creature comforts. In spite of being cold and starving, we had decided to spend the night in the barn and set off at dawn. Neither of us fancied a drive across the island in the dark. I had been instructed by the one with the gun that we would leave the stolen car here and travel in hers. We'd share the driving and make the journey in one go. I lay in the now dark barn feeling exhausted, but I couldn't sleep. I called quietly into the darkness, "Rebecca, Rebecca." "What?" "I can't sleep." After a short silence, she said, "Nor can I." Nothing else came from her for some time. I began to feel embarrassed, wondering if she thought I was coming on to her. Of course I wasn't, but telling her so might also sound like a line. "I wish you had your guitar," I said into the darkness. "Something nice to listen to, ease the stress." Silence. Was she still there? Had she taken off with the money? My 50 grand? Actually, that would be perfect for me. Truthfully, I just wanted out. If she'd crept off, I could simply drive home tomorrow. Except I'd stolen the Citroën. The police would be looking for it. Okay then, I'll drive it to Garvel and get the train to London. A voice came from the darkness, shattering my plans. I often play when I'm stressed. Rebecca's voice was soft and vulnerable, as it had been in her room back home. I was glad she was still there, and felt safer for not being alone. "You must wear out a lot of strings then." "Very funny," she laughed. "I do, actually." She laughed again. "You're very good, I wanted to be professional a lifetime ago." I sat up and stared through the blackness at her bodiless voice. "What happened?" Is that whole other conversation?" I smiled to myself. "You got somewhere else you need to be? I have plenty of places I'd rather be. Ain't that the truth?" "So what happened to stop you from being a professional?" "Simply the wrong crowd and easy money. Being a musician takes hard work. Crime looked so unchallenging. But there again, where has it got me?" It was not hard for me to agree with her. "Well," I said, "I suppose criminality does show a degree of commitment?" "Yeah, I suppose so." "What about you? What did you want to be when you grew up?" "Oh, I don't know. I guess I never thought about growing up. My life always looked like a predetermined course, I suppose. I just followed blindly. It seemed to work." "Until it didn't," suggested Rebecca. I repeated her words. "Until it didn't." Her voice came gently again, disembodied like on a telephone. "But what turns you on? You must have something you're passionate about." I stifled an involuntary laugh which refused to be suppressed and trumpeted through my nose. "What was that?" she asked. "Nothing. Stupid things. Nothing important." "Come on, Simon. Spill the beans." "I wanted to write," I said. "Yeah, I know it's stupid, but I wanted to be a writer." "Why's that stupid?" Her voice was even softer, teasing out my deepest desires with concern rather than interest. "Why would you care?" I said. I instantly realized I was abusing her genuine feelings by feigning bashfulness. "I suppose that's why I went into advertising," I said. "The place writers' cowardice feels safe. That or poetry." "Poetry? That's a bit hard on poetry, isn't it?" "Oh, poetry's all such bollocks," I said, punching my straw bale. "Jesus," replied Rebecca. I knew I was just jealous of the ability of good poets to put their finer feelings into words. My envy simply tarred the lot of them with the same mucky brush that I so righteously used for the flaccid musings of untalented dilettantes. It was not even remotely true that I thought poetry bollocks. It was a magnificent feat to communicate in such a direct way, and yet to do it so indirectly with metaphor and allegory. Poetry, I thought, was the employment of far more words than necessary to express ideas that fewer could not. I envied poets both for their ability to understand their feelings so well and their skill in communicating their understanding to others. Rebecca's softness reached out to me again. If you want to write, you should write. How do you know if you have talent if you don't try? Don't hide any talent you have under that bale of straw. I remembered an advertising colleague once commented that the world is one big bushel under which many lights are hidden until they fade. I may have wanted to die a few days ago, but recently something inside me had emerged, and whether I was willing to listen to it or not, it would not keep quiet.
Oh,